Hello again. Let's make sure it's on before I go on. They had to update the presentation, so it should be on. Well, actually, while we wait for this, I want to get a sense of the room. I still haven't quite gotten a pulse of who's in the audience. If you wouldn't mind raising your hand, if you are already an entrepreneur, you already have a company going, just raise your hand, please. Okay, great. And how many of you are aspiring entrepreneurs, folks who want to start a business? So everybody's gotten it going. Great, Almira. No one else. And I know there are a bunch of investors in the room as well. So I just wanted to get that sense so I can custom my remarks as I go forward. So this next 30 minutes, and one thing I should say, I want to make it very interactive. This will be a conversation. I'm not going to do most of the talking, or at least I'll try my best. So I have a few points I want to make. I'm going to actually share with you a little bit of the history of the company. We are actually probably one of the oldest internet companies in Turkey, almost 10 years, a decade. I want to tell you what's been happening, where we are today, what we're doing with new products, and then I'll share with you some themes that you heard before, and then we definitely want to have a conversation. So a little bit of a history. If you can see this, I hope it's clear. Yonca.com, which introduced social to Turkey and made it ripe for Facebook, was actually first went on online December of 2003. So it will be 10 years in 2013. And I think not many social communities can make a claim that they have weathered the challenges from global players and still found a niche. And so that's where we are. Tiger came into our company as an investor. One of the very first investments Tiger made in YMG back in fall of 2007, and obviously have been a pioneer for investing in Turkey, and now there are others who are following. I came on board in 2009, and that's when what I call is a phase 2 of our company. We've been on an expansion track, and we haven't looked back. And I was just talking to Almira over lunch that first time I came to Turkey, and I'm going to share a little bit of a personal story here. I felt a certain pulse, a certain connection with this place, even though I'm not from here. And I could tell that this place is about to take off in a very good way. And there's a reason why I'm here, to be a part of that story, or to do my little part. And frankly, this was 4 years ago. Things were going well, but they were not nearly as well as they are today. And I told Tiger, our investor, that look, I'll take this opportunity on, but we have to be very clear about this, that our story has just begun as a company and as this country. There's so much more to be done here, given how fast growing this place is, how much opportunity there is. And obviously, we have experience with the first social network, but now we need to look beyond. We need to expand into verticals. So we Yonca pivoted to more of a social discovery, social dating model after I came in late 2009. In 2010, and I want to give a shout out to my friend Oz here, we launched Firsad the Fursad joint venture. Oz, where are you? Oh, here's Oz. Oz Salan, by the way, he's a great story of somebody, a Turkish American, or in the U.S., literally, in his apartments, starting this incredible venture and taking off like wildfire, and then coming to Turkey and now spending time here and building a great enterprise. It's great to have him as a partner. But us as a company going into a social commerce was not natural. But again, it has the social core to it. Why is it dimmed? Then we have raised a couple more rounds from Tiger, smaller rounds. Just one product that I will spend some time talking about today is the social. I'm actually very excited about that. We've invested last 2 years in our company building this platform, social recruiting platform. And the great news is that platform is now going global. And it's a great story for Turkey that technology built right here in Istanbul is being adopted by some market leaders outside the country. That's why I'm a big believer. You don't have to go to the valley to create value. You can do a lot of great stuff right here. By the way, could someone just make sure this the laptop is well connected, because it's going off and on? So just very quickly, our business today overall, we have social verticals. We have three main properties. We are operating social discovery and jobs ourselves. Oz is running the Fursat business. Yonjab still is a very highly engaged property and still have 4 million visits per month. It's got much more niche, focused on youth and focused on social discovery. Fursat is just doing incredibly well. To give you an example, last year we did more than $6 million worth of cart volume transaction. That is huge, and it places it amongst the top 3 to 4 deal sites in the country. There's been a shift in business model. We are now starting our own deals, and please reach out to Oz if you have any ideas, if you want to discuss any partnerships with him. And social jobs is where I will spend most of my time on the product front today. This is a Facebook-based recruiting app that we launched about a year and a half ago. And we have 400K installs, 26 million Facebook profiles that are in our system, and there's some very interesting opportunities about how to use Facebook for recruiting. So this is, speaking of Facebook, you may find some of this data interesting and perhaps not surprising. And this is about a year old, and things have actually improved since then in terms of the use of Facebook for recruiting. But 16% of all job seekers have received a job referral from Facebook. We normally don't think of Facebook as a place where you go and find a job, but 16% of all job seekers have received a referral for job through Facebook. Very importantly, 60% of the profiles on Facebook have professional information in it. So in essence, Facebook, in many big ways, presents itself as a professional platform because you declare where you work, you declare where you're going to school, and you have your title. So it has the basic objects you need for it to act as a recruiting platform. And very importantly, 48% of all job seekers have said that they have used Facebook for their job hunting, 48%. So roughly half of all Facebook's population says they use Facebook for their job search. And that was the genesis for us to look into this opportunity. As you know, there are 32 million Facebook users in Turkey. Yes?
That 48% is really high. How does that compare with LinkedIn?
I will get to that. I will definitely get to that. Great question, and I'm glad you asked that right away. That's the first question I get. We looked at Turkey and we said, okay, this is one of the top markets of Facebook in the world. And today, if you look at, people mostly use it for communication, profiles, some social discovery now with the search coming on, gaming clearly, but there's a lot more to be done in other verticals. And these 32 million users, many of them are young, they are in the workforce, and as I said, they have declared their professional affiliations on Facebook. So what can we provide them? So what Issa Social does is, Issa Social is jobs through friends at the end of the day. Simply put, we are enriching job postings and companies with social graph and bringing friends to that conversation. Almira asked the question, well, LinkedIn is, obviously, how does it compare with that? Well, LinkedIn is, by design, by definition, a recruiting platform. That's their core offering. Facebook, on the other hand, I'm not saying it's a recruiting platform, but Facebook is a mass media. And a mass media that speaks to millions and billions of people around the world has more uses than just communication and profile sharing and content sharing. Because you're declaring your professional information. When we have imported data from Facebook, 50% of all profiles that we look at have professional information on Facebook. So it allows us to leverage it. And I'll share with you how do we differentiate from ourselves from LinkedIn in Turkey. And actually, let me just take that right away because it will help clarify. I think LinkedIn, when you look at the Turkish market, LinkedIn is still a domain of the sort of more elite jobs. Perhaps people who are bilingual, people who are maybe in the technology field, or more higher paying jobs. We are very clear, going back to our roots as a company, we are building a mass brand. I'm not interested in just serving people in one part of Istanbul. We would love this to be serving every Facebook user in this country. And that is 32 million of the total 75 million population, half the country. And in fact, some of the first customers that we have signed up, they are using our product to recruit teachers in some of the remotest parts of Turkey. That, in my opinion, is value creation. LinkedIn cannot do that. And it's great that they've got a very clear model, and they are good at that. So we differentiate ourselves from LinkedIn being, first of all, a local brand, and two, a mass brand. That is not trying to just focus on one industry or the other. So in Insta Social, it's a Facebook app. This is what we see when you come in. We import your data. We know where you're working, or if we don't know that, we ask you to provide that information, just your title, just your company information, and based on that, we are able to share with you some of the jobs that you might find interesting. Now, these job listings, from these companies are coming from local job boards that we are getting data from. We are also now offering our own job postings. So what we're doing is we're adding your social layer to, okay. So we're adding social layer to these companies and job boards. So when you look at a company, you can see who are your friends from your network who are there. And by the way, that happens within a minute of you installing the app. We are instantly matching your social graph to job postings that are in our database, coming from all the top job boards in Turkey, as well as our own posting. And you can use this very sophisticated search. We've got a great developer, Umid Gunesh, who developed awesome search, which is very detailed, and you can start to connect with the right folks who can make introductions to those companies and act as your inside connections and your trusted connections. Because we do know in this country and in our region, relationships matter. You get jobs through your friends. And that's what we are bringing onto this platform. So a company like Vodafone, if you go to Vodafone, for example, their page on our site, Insta Social, you will see Vodafone, you will see their pictures, you will see their content, you will see their job postings here that they're hiring. So again, we are providing a channel for companies to engage with Facebook users with their professional content. That certainly LinkedIn does, but this brings companies into the mass domain. Today, obviously, all the big brands, and we see that in our social part of the business, definitely market on Facebook to build their brands as products. But they're not leveraging Facebook to build their HR brands, to be an employer of choice. Here, there's an opportunity for Guarantee and others to do that. And I'll show you some examples where folks have adopted Insta Social for exactly that. This is a feature that actually gives me, I feel very excited about this. I shared with you that we have access to 26 million Facebook profiles in Insta Social. Just to be clear, I'm not saying that 26 million active users. But what happens is every time, let's say Almira joins Insta Social, she'll bring her 5,000 friends to our, I'm sure you have 5,000 friends. Just.
But I have a problem with that. So you talk about this, but I have a problem with you taking my 5,000 friends.
Well, then you don't have to bring them on. Okay. They are inactive. They are inactive. By the way, this is a great point about privacy. We are operating in the Facebook paradigm. We are operating on the Facebook platform. The privacy that Facebook has is what we adopt. And every time you install an app, you can select which permissions you want to give to the app. And that's true of any game or true of any app. So you certainly have a control. And Facebook is going out of its way now, being a public company, to make sure that it is not running afoul of privacy issues. I can tell you very safely, there's nothing here that is subpar. In fact, in my opinion, this is actually a productive use of the platform for something hopefully more utilitarian. This is what I find very exciting, that we can now, based on your profile, based on your data, send you a ping, a Facebook notification. Hey, by the way, there is a chief editor at Hurriyat that might interest you in the job. We didn't even look for it, but we know you are a terrific writer. And so that is what people expect now. I think as much as we all care about privacy, we do know that our data is all in the domain. You know about me. Why don't you recommend me what might interest me? You have all that intel on me. And if we can do that in a clean, in a nice way, on user experience way, it can add a lot of value for users. Mobile. Very critical. By the way, let me say something here. Obviously we've got great job boards in Turkey, Kariyer.net, Secret CV, Yeni Barish. We were working with some of them as partners. You may wonder, well, how does this differentiate with them? The big differentiation is a lot of these job boards, just by virtue of being Web 1.0 companies, came into being 10, 15 years ago. It takes a while for them to embrace social and mobile. We, from the get-go, built this mobile out. So if you look at the mobile apps on iOS or Android, they will look very different. They're built in for that experience. Today's users, today's young professionals, they expect things to be mobile. They expect things to be social from the get-go. Let me just share with you something that I think you should feel very proud of as a community. And it's a bit of a story I'll share with you. As you know, we are a Tiger investment. And we had gone to this conference that Tiger hosts in New York every year. And I was just sharing with one of the Swiss job board company what we have done with this platform. And they're a job board in Switzerland. And they said, well, we don't have a Facebook strategy. I said, maybe we can help you. So we have gone into the licensing business model, where we are also now providing this technology as a platform for job boards around the world to launch their Facebook apps. And this is that. So jobs.ch, it's a Swiss company. They just had an exit for $500 million. They're the market leader in Switzerland. They also have market share in Germany. They basically are using this technology that was built right here in Istanbul. And that's why I'm a big believer. You can do a lot of stuff right here if you do it right. Going back to Turkey, we are also taking this solution and providing technology solution to local corporate HR. Like Denise Bank, we're working with their team to come up with their requirements where they can post their content, their job posting, and in a way that is attractive, that engages candidates on Facebook. So let me pause here. I do want to, just in respect of time, and as I said earlier, I want to make it a conversation, get your reaction to what I have shared so far.
Can you share with us your views of Turkey? Do you feel like you get into Turkey, you develop the products in Turkey? You develop the product in Turkey, you use Turkey as a market, you grow here and then you go global, or do you feel like you want to be in Turkey,
It's a great question. It's a great question. And that is what I felt when I first got here in March of 2009. It was my first time in Turkey. I'd never been here. I still couldn't, I couldn't speak the language and all that. But I felt like this is a great market to build stuff in its own right. It's a significant size market. But it offers you enough of a potential to branch out. And that's precisely what we have done. Remember I started with Yonca.com. It's very different from that. But at the end of the day, it still leverages our social domain. I still believe we are a small team, but we are one of the best social teams in the country. We know how to work on Facebook platform. Facebook beat us in some areas, right? We figured that out. And we are now going back on their platform, embracing it for a totally different vertical. So in short, yes, Turkey is a first priority, absolutely. I'm passionate about it. At the same time, I believe we can, if technology is agnostic, which it is, there's no reason why the same stuff, which is world-class, cannot be adopted by others with a Made in Turkey brand. And that's where we are with the Social and Social Job OS platform. Other questions, comments? Tough questions, and Mira asked me one and then she left. There has to be more questions. Startup Turkey event. Please go ahead. It's okay, you have a good voice, so you can.
Okay, this is Volkan Çağsal from Public Digital Agency, focuses on social media advertising. We are also the exclusive partner of LinkedIn in Turkey, actually. So it's a great product, and Facebook, social graph has lots of opportunities to utilize it for job function. But one, if I can add a perspective for LinkedIn, it used to be a niche product that focuses on technology and a high level, senior manager level user base. But the last year when we signed a deal with LinkedIn for Turkey representation, it was 1 million users, and now we are about to announce this, 2 million user. So it's growing very exponentially, and you can't be like niche when you have 2 million users. It's going mass, and it's now includes teacher, students, and low-level people, and that kind of stuff. So do you see a risk on that?
Great question. Yeah. Great question. And by the way, let me say I'm a fan of LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn, day in and out. Actually, some of my best friends are working at LinkedIn in great roles. Here's a big difference between us and LinkedIn. I bet you after this event, if I'm not already connected with you on LinkedIn, I will be connected with you on LinkedIn. Absolutely. It's a great place for conference attendees to come together. But with all due respect, it's not a place of best friends to come together. Right? I mean, how many of the 1,000 connections you have on LinkedIn, people you've actually met? You don't have to say it, but I know it. I haven't met all of them. And often I don't even know who these people are. So you're right. In some ways we compete. But my premise is we are going after relationships. And I would also say that even in Facebook, there might be some people that you haven't met. But there are certainly, Facebook tends to be more in the domain of your relationships that you care about. At the end of the day, you're going to get into roles and opportunities for people who are willing to take up the phone and make a call for you, not just pass you around somebody. And so I think there's a difference in there. And our job right now for me as a marketer is to be able to differentiate, to be able to articulate that difference very, very, very clearly, which, by the way, is critical in this product and goes back to some of the earlier themes we were talking about. To succeed in startups, you have to do branding, product positioning very, very effectively. So, Volkan, to your question, we can be very clear about that. But I'm very clear that we can provide that. Second point is, despite LinkedIn being there, why is it that 50% of users are still talking about their professional life on Facebook? They are. And so if they are talking about that, just like in the Web 1.0 world, you had verticals emerge. In the social world, verticals will emerge. We'll have to constantly make sure that we are providing a value that they're not getting from LinkedIn. So, and thirdly, to your point about mass, it is true they're growing fast in Turkey. I still believe, given where the brand's positioning is, it is not going to operate in the mass market as someone like Facebook can. And finally, very importantly, by no means with Iste Social we are building a new social network. No, social network is already there. That is Facebook. In fact, if you notice, the first thing you see on Iste Social is job listings. All we are doing is bringing job listings, surfacing them up, and connecting your friends to it. That's all we're doing. So, but a great question, and thanks for asking that. Other questions? Any other? Both questions were about LinkedIn, so it was in the right domain. Would you like to, please?
Hello, thanks for the presentation. This is Ilke from ShopCrowd. I would like to ask something about Yonca. Because while I was young, I saw it as a groundbreaking social community. And from what I see, it had the potential to go global and become a big hit. But it was local, and it still is local as far as I know. So what is the story? I mean, did you have any plans to go global at that moment, or was it your intention, or did something go wrong? What is the story behind that?
I showed you a timeline for a reason, and that is I came into this role in 2009.
2009, yeah.
So, but anyways,
and Yonca was popular before 2009.
Yeah, so I'm not the cause of this decline.
but here
is the key point that I want to make, which I think is something we talked about a lot this morning. I totally agree with you, completely agree with you. If we did our stuff right, Yonca would be that $100 million company today. Absolutely, 100%. So it is not about ideas. It's not about money. It's about execution. It's about management. It's about commitment. It's about sticking through it when it seems like you can't do it. It's about finding the right people, building teams. It's about old-fashioned management, like in the railroad industry. And that often is a challenge with, frankly, entrepreneurs who are young and who may feel after raising money that they have arrived. And I was brought in precisely to reset that. And I still feel very grateful, and this is the work of my entire team, is that given where we were and where we are today in terms of our expansion and going into areas that may not seem directly connected with Yonja. But so I agree with you. It is certainly that could have been there. I still take a lot of pride that despite facing Facebook's huge competition, we have managed to carve out a niche for Yonja. We've managed to reposition it. In fact, my first decision as a CEO was to launch Facebook Connect. And people said, are you crazy? And this was before anybody else did, for most part. You're capitulating to Facebook. I'm like, well, people are already on Facebook. I mean, my not embracing them is not going to affect me. But it will affect people because it will make it easier for you to come back. And by the way, today, that decision has validated because 25% of traffic comes from Facebook. So you make a great point, and this is something I will say to any of my fellow entrepreneurs here in the room or listening, is that you have to stick through it. You have to be committed. Absolutely have a broader vision that you can scale up to that. But for that, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. And if you believe you don't have the skill, it's okay to not have that skill. Bring someone else to run it. I think the brilliant decision that Mark made was, Zuckerberg, is to bring Sheryl Sandberg. Facebook is where today in big part because of Sheryl. And that we didn't talk about the Valley, but that's where the management is. Again, Eric Schmidt at Google, a story. I saw 3 CEOs at Yahoo. And some of them did great, some of them did not do great. So I think we need to recognize our strengths as entrepreneurs and our weaknesses also. We're all humans, nobody's perfect. And be emotionally detached and bring people in. I agree with you. My heart bleeds when I look at the strength of that brand. Even after 10 years, let me share with you a statistic. 35% of traffic is destination traffic. We have never spent a dime marketing Yonja. It has incredible brand awareness. It absolutely had the global potential, but I think even today we are doing fine. It actually is a cash flow positive property. And now we are more profitable than ever on average user per basis. But a great question, and I couldn't agree with you more. Please go ahead.
Nice. On that point, I want to ask here, obviously, Kerim, the different people leading the company, and there's a Tiger investment. One important point would like to get your view is the term sheet, right? The way you invest in the company or the way you buy the company. Obviously, 2008 Facebook is different than 2006 Facebook. Right. So can you share with us your views of if the term sheet was different, would you come in perhaps earlier by Kerim so that you are flexible? So what happens to the founder based on that term sheet? And can we also look at the investors to come up with terms to keep founders on the hook?
It's a, well, look, I'm being very candid. I think investors play a big role in making sure that either you create value, sustain value, or you destroy value. I am very grateful to Tiger and Kareem for where we are. I do believe that when the money doesn't come into the company, there is less of an incentive, right? It's just human. So we would have been probably in a different place if folks had the incentive to stay and get it to the next level, or maybe bring professional management and all of that. But in all honesty, in all fairness, this is all timed. This is actually a perfect business school case study. It's all timed with the Facebook going international and translating into Turkish. It was a perfect storm. But I am an optimist. I believe that it is manageable. Still, it's manageable. But it requires a lot of discipline. It requires incredible sound management. It requires eye on the ball, eye on the product, eye on the innovation. I'll tell you something that bugged me when I first joined the company. I was talking to the team, and I said, why is this feature like that? It sounds so, it doesn't look good. Oh, they're Turks. They're fine with it. I'm like, why do you have this attitude? You're serving users. Whether they are in a certain part of the country or they are in Silicon Valley, they all deserve respect. They expect a certain experience. No wonder we are where we are, because we lost the sort of discipline on providing, delighting users. And this is why Facebook is successful. I mean, look at these guys. I mean, we were hearing about mobile issues. They have gone long on mobile. Obviously, they have the resources. So I agree with you. I think the lesson here for anyone who is in this situation is you want an investor who is going to look at this scenario and see, okay, if I make a certain move here, would it de-incentivize the entrepreneur or not? And also maybe advise them more actively on bringing on additional talent in the team, who can sort of have the synergy with the founder and the entrepreneur. Very active part of the room here, so please go ahead.
I think one more question.
Sure, got it.
Two questions. One is, what are the current monetization channels, and what are the possible ones soon to come? And the second one, is there a risk of depending on an external network like Facebook? I mean, the risk of the F-Connect,
yeah.
And also risk of Turkey. We have seen many social networks banned by the government, so two questions.
So let me respond to the last question first. Is there a risk of being on Facebook? I think you're referring to Easter Social. In fact, we have Facebook helping us on other properties too. My short answer is no. I think this network is far too big now. It's too big to fail, to use another analogy from another market. It's too big to fail, and it's in Facebook's interest to not, discourage apps. They want to do that? Good luck to them and their share price. Because I can tell you, our apps drive incredible engagement on Facebook. Facebook is in big part where it is today because of these apps. On Easter Social, we have some users who would go and do job search for 2 hours. Right? They're driving major engagement and they're seeing ads on the site. They may not click on them, but they do see ads. So it is not in Facebook's, in fact, just very quickly, I don't know, Alan, we have to run, is that Facebook is working on a search platform. As you know, they launched search, and they're launching an app center. They're actually making it easier to even discover apps. Apps is critical part of their strategy. So I'm not at all worried about that. Obviously, the apps have to provide value. Where I'm focused on is making sure Easter Social delivers a value. It helps you find jobs for your friends. Your other question about, again, government, I don't think so. I think you've seen the top leadership being very committed. Even when Twitter was, being considered, the president said no, he wasn't in favor of certain restrictions. So I have faith in common sense prevailing. What was your other question? Monetization, very quickly. Monetization for Social, it's free for users. It is the businesses that will pay. So it's an affiliate model. So basically, if Denise Bank or any company, we are providing them a service, it's a software for them, so they pay a monthly fee. So the money will be made primarily of Easter Social would be through the partners that we are helping build pages for. On the platform side, let's say with jobs.ch and other job boards that we're talking to right now in the Middle East and South America, they will pay a license fee, just like the enterprise software model. But thanks for the question. Appreciate it.
And thank you, sir, for the presentation.
Anytime.